Hey, what's up? It's Wick for Xiaomify, and today we're looking at the all-new Poco X3 NFC. Is it any good? Well, let's find out. Let's go. So here it is, the Poco X3. In the box, we'll find a SIM card ejector tool, some instruction manuals, a basic protective case, the phone itself, a USB-C cable, and wall plug. The X3 is approximately 16.5 by 7.6 by 0.9 centimeters in size. On the front, it's got a 6.67-inch LCD display with a 1080 by 2400 pixels resolution and a 120 Hz refresh rate. On top of the phone, it's got a 20 megapixel selfie camera in that little pinhole, and that can also film HD video. On the inside, it's got a very nice 5160 mAh battery that supports 33 watts fast charging, and Poco Phone is the first phone that uses Snapdragon's all-new 8-core 732G processor, and it's got NFC. On the back of the phone, it's got a 4-lens camera setup with a 64 megapixel main camera, a 13 megapixel ultra wide-angle lens, a 2 megapixel depth sensor to calculate the blur in portrait images, and a 2 megapixel macro lens. On top, it's got an infrared IR blaster to use as a remote control. On the bottom, it's got a 3.5mm headphone jack. On the side, it's got the volume rockers and the on-off switch with fingerprint scanner in the button. And on the left side of the phone, it's got a SIM card slot that also allows you to expand the internal storage using a micro SD card. So now for this review, I am going to consider its very attractive price tag, as it's a very well-priced phone, so I want to keep that in mind when looking at it. So now first, how's that camera? Well, I went around the block like I usually do, and I've been shooting quite a bit with the 64 megapixel main camera. The photos come out looking quite good. I've got some very sharp and very decent images with the main camera. And also in a situation like this in the alley, it comes out looking quite good. Also in the night shot of this violin maker's workshop, it handles the contrast of the light very well. You can use a 2x zoom from the camera menu, which does use the main camera lens and basically crops the image. Technically, you could also just take a photo at 64 megapixels and zoom in on that and crop it yourself though. I've taken this shot with the portrait mode, so it should use the depth sensor to calculate the background blur, and it does do a very good job on that. And this is the same furry dude using the normal camera. Generally, I do gotta say that the photos come out looking good for a phone in this price range. At night, it does quite okay. Some images come out looking good, while on some others you can clearly see the image is a little bit more fuzzy. Overall, it's not the best in low light, but also definitely not the worst. The super wide-angle lens is a lot lower in resolution, but despite that, I did get some very good photos. It's quite a lot wider. It's not crazy fuzzy around the edges or very unsharp around the edges. Obviously, it's not as sharp as in the center, but it's really not that bad. It also doesn't have much fringing, purple cringing. The selfie camera is a 20 megapixel shooter. Its photos come out quite well. Also, the videos of these are quite good. So it's a pretty decent camera for taking some selfies or perhaps doing some video calls. Then on to the 4K video. That came out looking surprisingly good. It's sharp, it's got very fast focus, and it's steady. It's even steady when walking. And generally it looks good. Besides the colors being quite vibrant, which some people might really love, it has a little bit of a purple reddish tint and a little bit of noise in the darker areas. I personally don't have much to complain on the video footage. It surely exceeded my expectations, and I really got some pretty good shots with it walking around. At night, it does come out a lot more fuzzy or a little bit more noisy, a bit more shaky. Generally, it's not all that bad, but you can definitely see it here when I'm riding a bike, and the shot is quite steady for being on a bike, although it's just not as good as it is during the day, which actually gave me very good footage. So out of the box, the Poco phone uses the global version of MIUI 12, with all the Google apps pre-installed, and luckily not too much bloatware. It just has a few apps like Facebook, Netflix, eBay, and a handful of apps beside the Google apps per default. but you could easily remove these in case you don't want them. In use, it's the same experience as with any other phone that uses MIUI 12. It's got all the control center features, it's got the multitasking, and pretty much everything that you'd expect it to have. As it's got a screen with 120Hz refresh rate, the interactions and the animations are all smooth and they feel very good on the eyes. Although because it is a LCD display, it doesn't have the always on display features, and I did notice that the screen doesn't work very well when using it when you're wearing polarized sunglasses, so you might want to keep that in mind. Besides that, the screen is actually quite good. In terms of what the phone can handle, that's actually a bit better than I had on a phone like the K30. The Snapdragon 732G is a newer processor, and it didn't give me any problems editing a photo in Lightroom or playing a game like PUBG. And obviously it has no problem with any of your daily tasks, like doing some Facebooking or some Instagramming. On the audio side of things, it performs, well, the speaker is obviously not the best like you would have on a €1,000 flagship phone, but it's really quite good. And the same goes for the microphone. So this is a sound recording that I've made on the X3. Hey, what's up? It's Wick for Xiaomify, and this is what I sound like through the Poco X3. Let's go. So on the audio side of things, the X3 pretty much performs like you'd expect, and it's really not bad. So what do I think of the Poco X3? Well, for a phone in this price category, it is an impressive phone. It's got the very latest and greatest mid-tier processor. It's got NFC, which a lot of you will be happy to see. It's got a headphone jack, which again, a lot of you would love to see. It's got a very decent fast charger, and it's got a very big battery as well, which is always great to see. It's got a high refresh rate screen, and it pretty much made some really good compromises to make this a good phone, like by having the fingerprint scanner in the on-off switch instead of under the screen. And it's also offering expandable storage if you need to save more photos, for example. And the camera, it's good, especially with a little bit of light. It performs well. It's got some impressive 4K video that looks very good and is stabilized very well. I do think the macro camera is not very necessary, and it kind of feels like they've been adding this quite often lately just to have a 4-camera setup on the phone, but I personally don't think that you'll be using a macro photo option very often. But in case you do, well, there's a macro photo lens on it. I also would have loved to see 5G on it, although I do believe that it's not possible with this processor, and it does keep the price down. I also would have loved to see an OLED display, but again, I guess it does keep the price down, and it does have an attractive price. The Poco X3 is coming out on the global market starting at around €200 for the 8GB RAM and 64GB storage model. They've officially launched it on Xiaomi's AliExpress store today, to which I've put down a link below this video in case you want to go and check it out. I gotta mention that the Poco X2 came out just 6 months ago, and the X3 is not a huge step up, but it does have some improvements, like a better camera with a better aperture, a bigger battery, faster charging, and a newer and better processor. So there surely are some improvements over the X2 that make the X3 a bit better. So that's about it for the Poco X3. What do you guys think? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is this something that you want to go and pick up or not? Let me know down here in the comment section what you guys think, and don't forget to leave a little like below this video to show me that you liked it. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, well, know that you probably should, because I'm doing a lot of videos about products from Xiaomi and the Xiaomi ecosystem right here on the Xiaomify channel. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see y'all soon. Peace!